The road was quiet that evening. Cars passed now and then, but most drivers kept their eyes forward, eager to get home. On the side of that lonely highway stood a man beside a broken car, his shoulders slumped, his phone held tightly in his hand as if it were his last hope. A few cars slowed down, then kept going, until one man finally stopped. What happened next would change both of their lives in a way neither of them could have imagined. And just when it seemed like a simple act of kindness, flashing police lights suddenly appeared behind them. But this wasn't the ending anyone expected. Before we continue this powerful story, take a moment to support the channel. If you enjoy meaningful stories that remind us how powerful kindness can be, please like this video, subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories to people around the world. And now, let's begin. It was a cool autumn evening in Ohio. The sky had turned a deep orange as the sun slowly disappeared behind rows of tall trees lining the highway. Daniel Harper was driving home after a long day at work. At 38 years old, Daniel lived a simple life. He worked as a mechanic at a small repair shop and spent most of his evenings at home with his dog, Max. He wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. But Daniel believed in one simple rule his father had taught him when he was a child: if you can help someone, you should. As Daniel drove along the quiet road, he noticed a car parked on the shoulder ahead. The hood was open, and a man stood beside it looking frustrated. Daniel slowed down. Most drivers kept going for a moment. Daniel almost did the same. After all, it was getting late. He was tired. And stopping on a highway could sometimes be risky, but then he remembered his father's words. He sighed softly, turned on his signal, and pulled over. The man standing by the car looked surprised when Daniel stepped out. "Hey there," Daniel said calmly. "Car trouble?" The stranger looked relieved. "Yeah. I think the engine overheated," he said. "I've been trying to call for help, but my phone barely has any signal." He looked to be in his mid-40s, wearing a suit that suggested he had just come from work. Daniel walked over and looked under the hood. Steam still drifted lightly from the engine. "Looks like your radiator might be leaking," Daniel said. "Give me a minute." The man blinked. "You know about cars?" Daniel chuckled. "I fix them for a living." The stranger finally smiled for the first time. "Well, I guess I'm lucky you stopped." For the next 15 minutes, Daniel worked quietly. He poured water from a bottle he kept in his truck, checked the hoses, and tightened a loose clamp. It wasn't a permanent fix, but it was enough to get the car running again. "Try starting it now," Daniel said. The man got into the driver's seat and turned the key. The engine roared to life. His eyes widened with relief. "You've got to be kidding me," he said, stepping out of the car. "I thought I was going to be stuck here all night." Daniel wiped his hands with an old rag. "You should still get it checked tomorrow," he said. "But it should get you home." The man reached into his wallet and pulled out some cash. "Please," he said. "Let me pay you for helping me." Daniel shook his head immediately. "No need." "But you stopped, fixed my car, and saved me hours of trouble," the man insisted. Daniel smiled. "Someone once helped me when I needed it," he said. "Just pass it on someday." The man looked at him for a long moment, then he slowly put the money away. "All right," he said quietly. "I will." Just as they were about to return to their cars, bright red and blue lights suddenly flashed behind them. A police cruiser pulled over. Daniel turned around. Confused, the officer stepped out and approached them. "Good evening," the officer said firmly. "We received a report about a suspicious vehicle stopped on the highway." The stranger raised his hand slightly. "Oh, officer, everything's fine," he said quickly. "My car broke down, and this gentleman helped me." The officer looked between them carefully. Daniel felt a little nervous. He had done nothing wrong, but flashing police lights always made people uneasy. The officer then turned toward the stranger. "Sir, may I see your ID?" The man handed it over calmly. The officer studied it for a moment, then something unexpected happened. His serious expression suddenly changed. Wait, the officer said slowly. He looked up at the man again. Are you Michael Reynolds? Daniel glanced at the stranger. The man nodded, yes. The officer straightened immediately. Sir, I didn't realize it was you. Daniel looked confused. The officer turned toward him and smiled slightly. Do you know who you just helped? Daniel shook his head. No, the officer chuckled. This man is the CEO of Reynolds Automotive Group. Daniel blinked. Reynolds Automotive was one of the largest car companies in the state. Daniel slowly turned toward Michael. You're serious? He asked. Michael shrugged with a small smile. Guilty. Daniel laughed awkwardly. Well, I guess cars break down for everyone. The officer nodded. They sure do. For a moment, the three men stood there quietly under the fading evening sky. Then Michael spoke again. You know something, Daniel? Daniel looked at him. Most people drove past me tonight, Michael said. Some even slowed down, looked at me, and kept going. He paused, but you stopped. Daniel shrugged. It's just the right thing to do. Michael studied him carefully. Do you like your job at the repair shop? He asked. Daniel chuckled. It pays the bills. Michael smiled thoughtfully. Well, maybe tomorrow you should come visit one of my dealerships. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Why? Michael's smile widened. Because a man who helps strangers for free is exactly the kind of person I want working for my company. Daniel stared at him in disbelief. You're kidding. I'm not. The officer laughed softly. Looks like stopping tonight worked out pretty well for you. Daniel shook his head, still stunned. I only stopped to help. Michael nodded, and that's exactly why this matters. He pulled out a business card and handed it to Daniel. Come see me tomorrow, he said. Let's talk. Daniel took the card slowly for a moment. He didn't know what to say. Finally he smiled. Well, I guess kindness really does come back around. Michael extended his hand. It always does. The two men shook hands. A simple moment. A simple act, but sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes. Daniel drove home that night feeling lighter than he had in years, not because of the opportunity he had just been offered, but because he had followed the simple lesson his father had taught him long ago. Help when you can. You never know whose life you might change. Or how it might change your own. And that's the beautiful truth about kindness. It doesn't ask who someone is. It doesn't care about wealth, titles, or status. Kindness simply shows up when someone needs it, and sometimes it comes back when you least expect it. So the next time you see someone who needs help, remember Daniel on that quiet highway. One small decision. One moment of kindness, and a story that proves the world can still be a good place when people choose to care. And who knows? Your small act of kindness today might become someone else's unforgettable story tomorrow.